Summit 22. This guy has beer. I'm not supposed to read that up. 4 o'clock every day. It's the most beautiful thing in the world.
What is that?
Your beer habit. I love it.
Oh, wow. I have a beer habit.
No, it's not a beer habit. It's a beer appreciation.
I was the last one there last night, just so you know.
David Aspinall, who is the CEO of Otacon US. Eric Olafson, who is the what are you? You're the director.
I'm an investor and I'm a member of the board.
Your passion for Otacon has
Absolutely.
So we're going to bring also in Spencer Loveless, who's doing a lot of things to work with marginalized communities. My name is Joel McKay-Smith. I'm the CEO of Accelerant. I have a director advisor position with Otacon, and I also work with Aspire Ability. I used to be in the streaming business, and I did broadcasting for many, many years. And so the voice inflections have changed a little bit. We went back into it. That's scary.
You've been a man with a life, right?
Yeah. No, they can hear But what I'd like to do is ask all three of you the same 3 questions, and we'll pass it on to who you are, a little bit about yourself, what you do, and what you need. And so we'll start with who you are.
Okay. Well, thank you, Joel. And genuinely, thank you for all the support, the energy that you're bringing to the event here, Silicon Summit 2022. Thank you for hosting us, and thank you for assembling a wonderful group of people here around us. I'm David Aspinall. I'm the CEO of Otacon in the US. Otacon is a for-profit. I like to lead with that. If you have ever heard me introduce myself, I typically will say we're a for-profit. And the reason for that is it's very, very important to us. We believe the principles of business are needed in order to help solve some of society's challenges. And specifically, the challenge that we are focused on is that of underemployment in the autistic community. It's 85%, and there's no good reason why that is the case. Otacon's mission is to hire, train, support technologists in really well-paying roles with corporate America, and to do that as quickly and as fast as possible. And so that leads me on to what I need. Right now, we have 38 people that have been through our autism-friendly recruitment process, and the energies of this company that has doubled year over year, and they're focused on how we place these individuals, phenomenal technologists in well-paying roles in corporate America. So that is me, and I think as Joel has moved on, because he sees something shiny, I will pass it over to Eric.
Thanks, David. Ditto to Joel for everything he's done oh, thank you. It's a fantastic event, Joel. First and foremost, thank you so much for this together. So I'm Eric Olafson. I'm a local guy here in Salt Lake City. Built a software company over some time. It's now part of Salesforce. Blah blah blah. Tech career. But I'm just going to build on what David talked about in terms of the autistic community. Otacon's one aspect of it. I'm going to promote something else for you guys. Something called multiple. So there's now a great thing going on in the world called ESG. ESG, environmental social governance. And a lot of people ask, where's the S in ESG? And we're actually in a privileged point in time right now where this ESG thing has caught fire. People are putting money into double impact investments. So what's happening now in the autism space is, well, let me put it this way. The world is consumed and thinking about mental health. And I'll tell you the largest period of amount of real estate in that area is obviously the neurodiverse community within which you have an autism. So there's a tremendous amount of innovation in tech. Doesn't see the light of day historically in this area because it's too fragile, too small. So what Multiple is doing as a .org, a nonprofit, is we're helping young companies, early stage companies, cross the chasm to the commercial investment type of platforms like the Autism Impact Fund, like the Kennedy Family's UK Ventures Fund, specifically focused on the neurodiverse needs out there. So just as an example, this year we have put 23 companies through 2 cohorts, all of which have now gone from a great idea to they're now being picked up by some of these commercial platforms. I'll say that that is 23 companies that wouldn't exist in the commercial space, touching the lives potentially of thousands of people on the spectrum, wouldn't exist without this thing called Multiple. So the ask, donate to Multiple. It's a .org. It's a real feel-good, magical thing you can do. And if you have a donor-advised account, particularly, unloved money sitting there, abandoned, pointed at us, multiplehub.org.
Awesome. Where are you next?
Well, my name is Spencer Loveless. I'm the CEO of Justice Technologies in Maryland. Justice is a vacuum company in Price, Utah. So Price, Utah is historically, we have a lot of coal mines, we have a lot of coal energy, we have power plants there. And we have this vacuum company there, but we also just started a couple, about 18 months ago, an additive manufacturing company. So we do 3D printing, but we do it in very mass scale. So we help companies that are sourcing products that they're trying to build their portfolio of products. Either they have to go to China to get these parts made, or they have to do injection molding, which is for many startups and smaller companies is a very high risk option that they have. It's the only option that they have. And many times they're still on the mold and parts wrong, and so they have to figure out a way to use it again, or they go out of business. So we help companies be able to mass produce their parts by the thousands, by the 10,000s of parts. They can change their part whenever they want, they can order as many as they want, and they can go to market much, much quicker than they would have if they had to wait months and many times years if they were to source that part in China. So we're in Carver County. Our goal is to really transform that economy as the war on coal continues to harm the jobs there. We want to adapt to bring people into the tech manufacturing industry. I mean, we're a young startup company, and we're just growing with customers that are needing to develop these products. They want to produce thousands of parts. We don't want to be that small. We could also produce 10 parts, right? We can, that's not, you want prototyping, there's many companies that do that. Our focus is mass production. Because well, if a company comes and they're like, hey, I need 10 parts to get to this 1,000 parts, 10,000 parts, yeah. But if they're like, I just need 10 parts, so I'm molding like
I guess you got something going on right here.
yeah, Justin, bring your printer in. This isn't the main printer we use, but this is it's printing a taco. There was an event called Tacos Together 2 weeks ago, and they built the world's largest blanket fort. And
I think I can start putting tacos. I'm going to put the
we hold
what's that? I'm going to move the camera so you can see it. Here. I got it. There you go. I'm showing them the printer.
There you go. Yep. We actually hold the world record for the most 3D printed parts in one day. That was 60,000 parts. I get printed at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we deliver those parts, 60,000 parts, at 4:30 in the afternoon. So it's a very fun, keep an eye out area to be in.
I put it back at the right spot. Yeah. I'm good. Certainly not.
So this was one of those, Jeff, you're speaking at 12:15. Nobody reminded me what I was going to be speaking about, so I'm just going to make it up as I go here. My name is Jeffrey Hunter. I run the Executive Wealth Consulting Group at UBS. Yesterday launched our newest office in the United States at a ribbon cutting. I had met folks at Autocon many years ago and developed a very good relationship with them. and the work that they're doing inspired me to get more and more involved, to the point where we were lucky enough to introduce them to my company, who's since hired individuals and looking to expand. Other companies that I do business with, we've been able to introduce them, and just proud to be part of their family. And so thank you, Joel, for letting me speak for 2 seconds.
If I may, on that topic, I want to thank you, Jeff, for all of the energy that you put into supporting us. And Jeff's point for Audicon is really clear. You know, oftentimes, well, actually, 100% of our clients are growing with us, and it's because they see the individuals that we're able to place in that client organization, and they see what they do as a performance advantage. And so it's really gratifying for us that we have supporters like Jeff, because what happens is once we get into that account, once we get into that client organization, we naturally grow because the technical leadership there identifies that the people that we bring into that workplace are really good at what they do. And so that really, if you think about what I started with, the fact that 85% underemployment within the autism community, that's what doesn't make sense. Because the people that we're able to bring into these tech roles are just phenomenal at what they do. So people like Jeff are really, really important to Audicon because they help organizations take a chance on us. And after that, it's all with behind us because they want more and more people and more and more services and solutions. So thank you.
We actually have we have an employee that has actually 2 autistic kids. And one's severely autistic and the other not so much, but it's like they're just fun people to serve. Yeah. They are the most loving entity.
Okay, it's time for walk-off music.
Okay.
We did the Carpenters last night. You guys want to sing a song? Yeah, we can sing a song.
Unfortunately,
It's an
All right.
thank you, everybody. Hey, I'm going to do one thing.
Merit 3D.
This QR code is to connect with me on LinkedIn. Oh, nice. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Joel. Thank you.
We're going to do collisions here. We've got Dominique from ROI, take front and center. Jacob, right? Yeah. I'd like you to be on the outside here. And then I'd like Hydrenesis Aquatics to join the group. You probably know that what they do has something to do with water. Let's make sure we get all of you in the frame here. Okay. Let's see. All right. All right.
You text too much, or should we?
No, we're fine. We're fine. So I have this fantastic opportunity to combine 2 people together that have 2 of my passions. Number one, I like clean water to drink. I like clean water to bathe in. I like to be able to have water that's conditioned that like fish can like live well in. I also like to educate people that are out in the sticks that need to be able to learn how to do things. And you're with the World Online Initiative, correct, Dominique? Could you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So the Rural Online Initiative, as the name implies, helps people in rural Utah get exposed to best practices and tools commonly used by people who work from remote situations. And so that's what we do. Is we teach a month-long course and help people get qualified for remote jobs. Wonderful.
Luke, can you explain a little bit about what Hydrenesis does and your role with them?
Sure. So Luke Timmons, co-founder of Hydrenesis Inc. and probably a 3rd generation water specialist that's been kind of handed down to the family. So a lot of the problems I'm very familiar with the world, especially some of the things you guys are talking about here. And what we try to do at Hydrenesis Aquatics, and the reason we're here today is to help bring those solutions to the market at scale. And that's really important. There's a lot of technologies that hold a lot of promise, but being able to scale them to meet the demands of the commercial and industrial needs and the environmental needs is kind of where we're at, what we're trying to do.
So Jake, Utah State is an ag school. Can you think of any way that an ag school could benefit from a proven company in a state like Utah that has so much water. What are your thought processes about what you do in your travels and that type of thing, and the importance of water in your travels?
So I can speak to this a lot because I actually am a rancher by heart. So I grew up on a cattle ranch. I have to do a lot with water right now. As a matter of fact, my family farm, which is located down in Beaver, Utah, is having some pretty major issues of being able to water our crops on a consistent basis. Being able to have those reservoirs held up and have some sort of way to be able to pull this water out of the ground or be able to do that. So I think honestly, like being able to have someone come in and even education about water, help get us clean water and things that we can use for our crops, for our lands, for our animals is huge. Because in all reality, everything up in the city is great, and being able to have clean water made and things like that. But it comes right down for me in an agricultural school with food. We have to have food to eat, and we have to prioritize that food that we have over having a nice green, perfectly cut lawn that we have in American Fork, Utah, instead of having nice green land that for cattle and things like that to be able to feed ourselves in the long run. So I really do feel like that is really important to have that.
So how does your organization
Yeah, some of the things we've been able to do at Hydrenesis, and we hope to be able to do with Hydrenesis Aquatics, is we've actually started to build education programs specifically for our applications. One of those is aquaculture. So we work with one of our strategic partners. They're building new facilities, and they obviously need technicians that understand water. That's not necessarily something that's an elective in high school, right? It's not done like that. So whenever there's an opportunity to build those education programs, I'm pretty heavily involved with the Water Quality Association. They certify professionals for residential, commercial, and industrial water treatment. And so we partnered with them to kind of bring awareness and expertise to our industries. And I'll kind of let Dave talk. He works with a lot of not-for-profit, a lot of NGOs and things of that nature.
Sure. David Antola, the CEO of Hydrenesis Aquatics and also co-founder of Hydrenesis. So that's essentially what we're doing is kind of a little segue from what you were talking about. There's a lot of stress, a lot of strain on the agricultural side, a lot of the farming side, a lot of the different areas. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to supplement, put a little pressure, take a little pressure off of that by doing a couple things. A, trying to make more efficient processes to recirculate and recycle that water instead of having to dump it. Two, we're also trying to provide different methods and processes to grow your own food. I mean, imagine having an empty warehouse in the middle of Utah, right in the place, and have that produce tons and tons of agriculture space, agriculture capabilities, vertical farming. These are kind of things, but it all starts with where you can put your foothold, where you can actually start making an impact. And that's what Hydrenesis Aquatics has done, is we've been able to take a big problem that a lot of the large industrial aquariums, for example, home aquariums, it's all about waste. They waste a lot of the water. If you're able to now not waste that water, put in your tanks, small tanks at home, big tanks with SeaWorld, which is our first client, now you're starting to put a dent, and that's what change is really going to be about. Making gentlemen know that to make incremental change, it's a lot of small steps consistently over a long period of time. And that's what we're not trying to just have one magic bullet, no such thing.
So with that kind of in mind, knowing that this is a process and not just the chemicals or how the foreign matters are removed from this, can you envision a future of what they are doing to be a new industry and how micro communities could utilize what they do to make their space better with water? It could be a curriculum that you actually teach.
Yeah, I think so. At Utah State, we do have a water science program, but I don't know if they go into the depth that you're talking about. So that's certainly needed in rural areas, as my colleague was talking about. So yeah, I think it's I certainly think there's a need for that.
So what do you guys think about the show? 3 words only.
Insightful, mind-opening, and I guess it's 2 words, but And also just it's a fun atmosphere. The atmosphere is great. Everybody's very talkative, very happy to be here, and it's just been great to be able to converse with people and get an idea of what's going on inside of their minds.
Your role is in the business development role, and you are a rancher.
Yeah, correct.
So you are truly fiber.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yep. Go ahead, Dominic.
Are we talking about this show or are we talking about the summit?
Well, there's the big show here in Elk. Then there's the little show here in my studio. Sweet. I think the big show, the entire unified attempt to be able to get all of the tech people together and be on different pages and stuff. Isn't this an amazing stuff?
What a great idea. That was good. Sorry. But yeah, it's I've talked to so many people downstairs now. From all different businesses. And we all have common knowledge. We all have common threads through all of the businesses that we're doing. So I think it's just a great idea to do.
Can we do an organization summit?
I say a lot of opportunity. So that's the first thing. There's a lot of insights. You said insight, but I really enjoyed the talk by the CEO, Quick, in helping to improve your memory and your learning skills. So there's a lot of tools. So I'd say it's opportunity, insight, and tools. That would be my three takeaways so far. But hey, it's the first day. Yeah.
You guys have gone cool. I would go with collaboration, vision, and synergy. As I hear people speaking, and I've heard people walking around talking, it's great to see everybody coming together. How what I can do overlaps with what you can do, and there's like a Venn diagram myself too quick. There's that collaborative effort. I think that we're actually putting a lot of it into action. So I'm pretty excited to see a lot of
Saving the world one drop of water at a time.
Exactly.
And I have to say thank you to Hydronesis Aquatics, because without the sponsors and those that we're trying to bring to Utah from a business standpoint, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing right now, which is decidedly a small show, but it doesn't mean that it's not that important. Some of your colleagues are going to take the stage with Joshua Aiken, who is the chief of staff with Zonos. We'll be hitting you guys up in a little bit. Let's find these collisions, see how we can have people learn a little bit more about one another, and we'll move on to the next one. If you could move around to the left, and we'll bring in the folks on the right. Thank you. Appreciate it. All righty. Is Joshua not there? Okay, I guess I'm going to have a little bit of alone time. David, let's talk. Let's talk. Yeah.
So is this an encore?
Yeah, this is an encore.
Okay.
So I want to talk about the differences between Texas and Utah and England.
Okay, we can do that.
So you describe yourself as a Brexit.
A Brexit.
Is that like a combination of
A friend from business school. I did my MBA at Texas Christian University in the great city of Fort Worth, Texas. And a friend of mine who was the program christened me the Brexit, and it's stuck ever since.
So you've been an amazing channel manager, marketer, creator of product for a long time. And mostly in the United States.
Yeah, pretty much all of my adulting was spending in
I'm 57. I don't know if I can actually use the proper terminology.
Well, yeah, I'm still living.
What is it you miss most about your life?
Family. There's no doubt about it, in my opinion, that the business community and the opportunities that are open to people here in the U.S. are more democratized. Like if you have the right idea and you're in the right place at the right time, you've got the right motivation, and you get a little bit of luck, you can really do well here in the business community. There's a little bit of kind of difference in the UK where oftentimes, it's not as open, the market isn't necessarily as free. But that's the only difference. The thing I miss the most is family. And maybe fish and chips and
So I'm going to do a little bit of a Shanghai with you here.
Oh no,
Because I think you're going to enjoy these guys. I'd like both of you to take the seat that I'm in, and I'll take it from the side. We have Dr. Paul Hill from USU, who is the aficionado expert in remote. work.
Oh,
It's
very
actually
cool.
written it. So Paul Hill come into the frame.
And so, Joel, I'm gonna take up.
Can I do a quick introduction between you guys?
Of
Because
course.
I don't know that they know you exist.
Okay, well, in that case,
All
sure.
right, you can come on in. This is Joshua Aiken. Why don't you confuse him with what it is exactly zoning is?
Oh, I'll go fast. Customs calculation reports. Okay. Previous taxes and fees. Yeah, interesting. Sounds like you're not from the United States. No, I'm from the UK, but I've been here for 22 years. Okay, but you get the whole idea of cross-border. Yeah, actually, I did 3 years in Canada and was fascinated by the amount of cross-border collaboration that existed when I was in Toronto. It seemed like it was a huge part of the economy there.
Okay, first question, pandemic, blessing, curse, both.
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 Curse.
Why?
Yeah. Yeah, there is that.
That kind of sucks.
It's like that.
I love when some people think people-
Yeah. So it sucks. I'd rather not have that. I would rather
But
it not
the
have
change of the social, the
okay,
social norms,
okay.
the social norms.
Okay. Yes. Yes. No, that we can turn a bad thing into a good thing.
Can you share with David the transition that you had in your community from the old school approach to Utah Dixie on the Mormon thing? I don't know if you know about this conversation, but what you currently have with Utah Tech. It's a good story. Hot button.
That's a hot mic. Yeah, a hot thing, so to speak.
So while you're thinking about that, and I'll politically go away from that statement. Could you tell these gentlemen what your day job is?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm the CEO of Audicon. Audicon, we're a for-profit. We believe that the principles of business are needed to help solve one of society's challenges. We support philanthropic efforts, we support legislative efforts. The challenge that we're applying the principles of business to is that of the underemployment in the autistic community. The autistic community suffers from an 85% underemployment rate, and we are singularly focused on employing as many autistic technologists as we can. We've developed an autism-friendly recruitment process, and we have job coaching so we can partner with our clients and place our employees in their technology.
So here's the irony. The epiphany that they found is the model that Audicon had, which was highly premise-based,
Yes.
is now working better remote. So
Absolutely.
for you, being able to have the neurodiverse and others,
Okay.
I just want to make
No, thank you.
Thank you very much.
So, great to meet you. It's really great to meet you guys. Enjoy some more hot takes from Joel there. And Joel, I have to leave now.
Are you going?
I'm going.
Can we have a fake bro hug? I miss you, sir.
Okay, but thank you so much, and I sincerely thank you for all of this and all the energy, and hosting us here has been phenomenal.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
All right, let's talk about Utah's southern version of Silicon Slopes and the next wave. I mean, you've got the Timpsons out in the Arizona Strip. They now have, between their companies, I think 1,750 between Vegas and Los Angeles. Who would have ever thought that Hillsdale and Colorado City would be able to be such an impact? You've got the Ridge, which you've had a lot to do with, and everything else like that, and it's growing. And then, I mean, truly, Paul, what you are doing is absolute, not future, but you've been able to establish the standard of best practice for work. I remember when we were talking on that road trip to get all of the signatures from all the county seats and stuff back in 2016, like there and was putting this through. I was thinking to myself, is this worth the drive? Is this worth it? Yes, it is, because we have an opportunity for a land-grant university to be able to take an opportunity for those that don't know that they have it and make it a reality. That's just awesome. Could you talk a little bit about your mission there?
Yeah, so what's interesting is we were talking earlier about like kind of the good and the bad of the pandemic, but it's interesting because from like 1965 to like 2020, the growth in remote work was maybe like 0 to 4% across the country.
it just wasn't happening. And then it spiked up to like almost 80%, and then now it's come down a little bit, and we're organizations are figuring things out, but the adoption rate it increased about like 30 years. So I mean, we're right where we're at now because of the pandemic. We wouldn't be at this place of around 30% remote, and then you got to factor in hybrid and all that for another 30 years. And so it's been neat to kind of get the timing right. Yeah, a little bit ahead of the curve, but have something in place to help businesses like Sonos and others really help them adopt this new modality of work and help leaders really see the value of flexibility. And we're seeing employees kind of vote with their feet when businesses are saying you got to get back to the office Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, whatever. We're seeing that the employees are really rejecting and pushing back, and they're winning. And so, in order to maintain, yeah, it's just started. Yeah, so we're seeing employers by necessity say, hey, we've got to keep going with this flexibility, and we can be just as profitable and just as successful. We saw like Goldman Sachs have record profits, but then they call everyone back to the office, and so we've proven that it can work, but we need to do it with intention, not this involuntary adoption.
So did you know that I went to Dixie State? I was in Dixie State, Dixie Junior College in 1983. It is probably the least memorable period of my life, and it was wonderful. I mean, they called it Little Jamaica back then, and they just broke it down. Being a Mormon,
I remember that. Yeah.
Being an LDS kid, and having all the structure and everything grew up. My dad was the drama teacher in my class, and we had a theater in the house, and so I used to dance at with parents right we were there. And my dad was the drosselmayer. Those things you wouldn't know about.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
I didn't know
because
that.
I saw a lot of that cartoon as a kid. So your dad was drosselmayer, and I've seen him many times.
So the reason I bring this up is there are transitions. There are many transitions that we go through. You now are seeing a migration of people from the Wasatch Front that are getting houses in North Harmony because that's the only place they can do it, because they want to be part of the St. George scene. I mean, did you ever think you'd see a time that there wasn't any housing in Panguitch?
It's insane, because I mean a lot of there would be more housing if people weren't leveraging technology and using platforms like VRBO and Airbnb to leverage like their short-term rentals, and so that whole marketplace has shifted things around. So yeah, I mean, who would have thought that was going to be the case?
No, it wasn't. But to be honest, to honestly answer your question, I did envision the growth that would come over the next, over the last 20 years, because it's such a freaking awesome place. Like, it wasn't going to go undiscovered forever.
Yeah. It really accelerated just with so many things. It was like you knew that St. George was always like the top growing area, and then I remember the year that we weren't on the top 25 places to retire list, and then the average age of the population came down to about 33, and you're like, whoa, this is changing. And I mean, what really kicked it off was air conditioning in the 1960s, and then everyone found us, and then it just been slowly, and then the pandemic hit, and everyone wanted to live where they vacationed, and then now we're dealing with like no housing in Escalante and other places, and so here we are trying to solve some.
Can I have a little
problems.
fun with this? Yeah. I want you to be in the middle, and I want you to be sandwiched by ROI.
All right.
So here you go.
All right,
Come on in, Dominique.
I'll go ROI middle.
Yep, here we go. All right.
I don't know if you know that I'm part of the ROI family.
I know, Joel. I know everything.
Because my family works for the ROI.
So this is going to be a question about not the future of education, but the future of industry and innovation. I believe that you have, as an example, the chief of staff of Zonos here as a witness, that you're going to be able to look at the situation of ROI, not only teaching rudimentary skills, Salesforce admin, AWS admin, these types of things, but how to be a complete capability and to make things and to be able to make them from home. This is a 3D printed thing for Price, Utah, and they are the first to market with the ability to have mass produced parts and consumer products. How cool is that? Yeah, well, you're pretty hot. So I'm going to start over here with you. I forgot your name. We've met a couple of times.
Katie.
Yes, Katie. Could you tell me why what I just posed is something that is not something that would be cool, but the inevitability, because we're going to be looking at these innovation centers that are tied in with the ability to have virtual incubators and accelerators and people that can make it happen. You've got, I'm saying the things you're going to say, I'm just going to shut up.
You know, I am a certified, I teach the certified remote work leader course. And what we're seeing really is that this has to start at the leadership level. If your leaders don't know how to run remote teams, then everything else is going to fall apart. So it really needs to start at that leadership level and then trickle down from there. And so the more we can equip leaders with really excellent skills to run remote teams, the better off we'll be as far as innovation is concerned.
Yeah, I mean, and just the desire to do that is critical. It starts with the desire and then the skills.
Desire and skills, and providing the opportunity if you're providing best practices.
We're not laboring under the delusion that remote work is right for every single situation, every single company, but it is going to be increasing over the years, and people are already doing things remotely that we never thought they could possibly do.
They're doing remote stents for heart surgery.
They are. So people look at manufacturing and say, oh, that'll never go remote. Oh, yeah, here we go. Here we are with the 3D printer.
$200.
Right, which could be operated remote. And so, yeah, I think that for people to think that something couldn't be done remotely is that's a bit that's become a far-fetched, especially over the last few years.
You know it.
Yeah, coming from Beaver, Utah, coming kind of from a rural community, you know, being able to bring in these people from these rural places and being able to put them inside of your workforce, I think is adding that diversity that a lot of companies might be missing. You know, a lot of companies, you hire where you're at. You know, if you're based in Lehi, Utah, you're hiring people out of Lehi, Utah. You know, they're used to a different way of life than people inside of rural Utah, inside of Beaver, Richfield, Escalon. These are the people that are really going to kind of bring in a little bit of a different idea because they have a different perspective. You know, they're part of the millions of people that live in rural America in general. And that's still a very valid point to be able to have those people come in, give them their different perspective that you might not think of because they've been raised differently. They do different things.
Can I challenge you guys? We've got this microphone. We're recording this. This is something where we're perpetuating my vision, your vision, what you're already doing. Find somebody that's a collision to what you're thinking and tell me you want 15 minutes tomorrow. And let's have the conversation with them so they can have the same perspective that I have of what's capable with remote work, so they can too. So they don't like hiring the neurodiverse with David that was just on. We are all in this together. We talked about this morning. We need to be able to work together. The only way we can do that is if community do that. So I'm going to ask you to stay on with me and Cindy, and the rest of you, real quick, just say your full name and your position with the extension.
Yeah, Jacob Webb, a remote online initiative coordinator.
Dominic Freya, I'm the program manager of the remote online initiative.
I'm Joshua Akins, and I am the chief of staff at Zonos in St. George.
Kind of a genuine badass as well.
Paul Hill, and I'm the program director and faculty member at Utah State University.
Katie Christensen. I am a program coordinator with the remote online initiative.
Which Christensen?
I married into it, so they're from Akron. Christensen's from Akron. So
I'm Smith, so we're kind of.
Yeah, I'm from San Juan County, so I'm related to everyone down there. But
guys, we can do this, and we are. come back and see me tomorrow. Let's make some time. It was something I was trying to schedule, and I came to the conclusion and it needed to be collisions. And you might want to stick around for the conversation because we're going to put Paul in the middle of the hot seat here, and it's cool. So, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Move into the middle, sir. So you and I met at probably the first.
It was the first Silicon Slopes. You were like name dropping like the director of the SBA at the time, and I was like,
I was on the board for, I still serve that organization. I've been trying to be and so it was cool. Even through school, I mean, people are just people. I have a very interesting perspective. I've always kind of just. Yeah, I remember it was 2016. It was the first day. So I got some fun historical things. Yeah. So I used to wear a bolo tie, and I had a pony tie with the club that I had. And we used to do what was called interactive engagement. And we did it before there was anything from the internet. All right, Paul Hill and Cindy Mona. You guys ever met?
no.
Oh, nice to meet
Earlier,
you.
I think I might have shaken your hand.
So Cindy has been instrumental with the HEP program.
Oh, nice.
With Dr. Foster Agbavor and the biomaterials lab.
Oh, cool.
Your area.
Yeah.
And then and she's also working with us right now. Thor, come join us, please. This is perfect timing. Come on, come join us. Sure. Let's go over a little bit. This is awesome. This is Paul Hill, that you've heard of quite a bit from the return on investment.
Yes.
Yeah, the Rural Online Initiative. Let's make sure you're in that frame real quick. There we go. All right, this is a Aggie, a Logan High School guy. First in class at Berkeley.
No, not first in class.
Dang it, I've been telling that lie for how long?
It's fine. You thought it was
Just keep
true.
perpetuating.
You thought it was true. It's all right.
I've been accused of being able to like do more of like a grandiose approach to what people actually do, but I think the reason that we're talking to you is that Accelerant is one of the only private companies in America that has been chosen to present an innovation engine to financial science knowledge, and we just filed. Thor, could you talk a little bit about your vision for the 7-county infrastructure coalition, how that would tie into Hurricane and everything else, and really what your motivation is from a charity standpoint with the things that you're working on?
Absolutely. You know, I've been working with a lot of different government groups for quite a long time to do really innovative things. You talked about Pointed Mountain, big plans for development there. The potential that they have to bring in new technologies and infrastructure to really enhance the state and make that an amazing place to live. Utah State, electrified transportation. University of Utah with wireless communications and
crafting stuff are doing with advanced composites.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's another really, really big one. And an enabling technology for that would be nuclear power, which is a project that's being pioneered at Brigham Young University.
And in conjunction with the University of Utah and Idaho labs as well.
Correct. Yeah, I think they're working with 7 national labs right now. So it's really significant that the technology that they're pioneering, things that labs across the country are working on, that could really bring us very cheap power in the very, very near future. It's basically the fulfillment of Bill Gates' vision. It won't be his company first across the finish line, I don't think, but his vision of really cheap power and all the things that can do are possible. Now, where's that happening? Emory County. Emory County is providing the real economic leadership to invest in the kind of growth that can be at home
for things like nuclear power, nuclear medicine, salt research, which again, very, very potentially large industry, but it needs very, very high levels of expertise in nuclear chemistry or in salt chemistry, which is extremely advanced. Even the companies that are working with these advanced salts for nuclear projects are coming to Utah to get help from BYU and from this company that's working with 7 counties and working with Emory County to get help with that nuclear chemistry or with that salt chemistry. So I think what you're going to see is some really, really big industry growth. But to get to your question, really, what's the core of this? We've got to have more collaboration. We're not working together enough as government, industry, and education. Now we're talking about accelerant, we're talking about aspirability, we're talking about Navajo Nation. You know, how do we get people? Maybe they're transitioning from other jobs, maybe they've just been overlooked and underemployed for one reason or another. How do we get them into these good jobs? Because there's a demand for workers everywhere, but there's especially going to be a demand in Utah for these high-tech industries, whether it's data centers, computer programming, all these things that, you know, back again to what your comment, these advanced material composites, how do you manufacture those? You've got to have high heat, okay? So as we bring all this stuff to Emory County, we're going to need people to go into those industries. We don't have pioneering kind of leadership making that happen right now. So we have a lot of unemployed and underemployed people. This thing that Joel's talking about is the initiative to bring everybody together, the pieces together that just didn't have a reason to talk before. This engine should be what gives that.
Perfect segue to you. I don't know that well, Thor and I do, but I know that Paul doesn't. The work that you do with First Nation and the marginalized people that you're not treating as marginalized, you're treating them as empowerment. I mean, it's awesome.
Well, absolutely. So I started First Nation sourcing in 2016. I actually started dreaming about it in 14. The 16 is when it really kind of started lifting. And I have a native bloodline, so I can see a lot of the problems from the inside out. And there's a lot of underutilized people and ideas that could really help all of Indian country take off. So these are all STEM jobs. Everything I'm working on is hemp related or cannabis related, and for building products as well as biofuels, those type of things. Got some really interesting batteries coming up. You know, just
the hemp batteries.
Oh yeah, hemp batteries, and putting out like 6 times graphene right now. So anyway, there's a lot coming with, of course, Utah State. They're the Aggies. Right. So anyway, my whole premise was to make sure that the nations knew how powerful they could be in this industry.
Even with all of your initiatives from a training and education standpoint, if you had a leg up with what ROI can do to get people in a positioned way of thinking so that you can do the advanced training with them, would that be a good collaboration?
Oh, absolutely. And we would like to see a lot more collaboration, internships, you know, we want these kids excited.
So I'm going to take this over to myself. I've never found the microphone I've been afraid of. That's okay. We have organizations such as that work in critical infrastructure, since like the infrastructure masons. The average age of critical infrastructure workers is 57. It's my age. We're going to run out of people that are going to take care of data centers, but more importantly, build them and maintain them. So my challenge to you would be, as we develop these labs, we are going. Can I talk about the JC? Absolutely. We've been working on the JC Penny building for about 4 years. We had a couple of false starts. We've always knew we had this wonderful, luminous site that was the destination on Main Street, and we want to turn into that again. And we have, I mean, we're almost at capacity once we actually build this out, and it's all scientific and cool. I mean, this cat over here, Spencer Loveless, wants to be able to start training people to be able to do more CTE stuff than he already has in place. There's the entire take on what has to be tied into paralysis learning and highly scientific things. But these people that work from home are not going to have those skills unless they learn fundamentals of what they're doing, and the reentry with mothers and stuff like that. There's just so many things that are crux to what you're so passionate about. And I don't know if she even knows what we've done the last 5 years. We've known each other, but I think you need to listen to what Paul is doing, what he's built with his incredible team, and what they're going to be doing. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, in 2017, there was this idea that came out of rural, and it was basically we have this high unemployment rate.
Pioneer County, right?
Yeah, Pioneer County Commissioner Bushman, and really what he was looking at is he was hiring remote workers for his business, and it was like, why can't people in my community do this? So we did a needs assessment, found that so many people just didn't even know it was possible, and they'd been burned by some like pyramid scheme, and they didn't really have an interest in it, and so yeah, that's what we've been trying to do is leverage the asset of the broadband capabilities that our leaders have invested in for so many years. They had the vision, and we're kind of living in the shade of that vision because so many other states don't have the infrastructure. And when you look at some of the studies that show like with the internet and with all of the efficiencies that have come with technology, we're saving on average about 10 hours a week of like manual labor work. We don't have to go and like farm our own food and things like that. Although that is very good activity to do. But we're saving all this time, and then what do we do with it? We can either be consumers of technology or creators of technology. And in a lot of cases, there's a lot of consumption. So Netflix is like using up the time that we could be using. And so with that capacity. So the Rural Online Initiative started as an extension program at Utah State to connect people, and the idea was connect people in rural communities with remote jobs wherever they are, and really what we learned from our initial studies or interviews with program participants is that it was very empowering. 76% of our participants are women. They're re-entering the workforce. They have dependent care responsibilities. There's limitations on what they can do. Some of them are just looking for a little bit of extra money to go on a vacation or pay for a kid's, sports. And so they have the availability, the time, the capacity, so much talent, and so we've been able to connect them with those remote work opportunities and really see them be empowered. And so I look at kids with limited opportunities in tribal nations, and we've been able to help them, especially with like translating services. They're able to transcribe and translate medical coding and different opportunities. But what the real opportunity in this last few years has been helping the employers who are in desperate need of talent on the Wasatch Front, this tight labor market. They're looking for diverse talent. They're looking for more women in the workforce and just overall diversity. And we're able to connect them with employees throughout the country, not just here in Utah. So we're really this kind of connector, and we're just providing employers with an opportunity to get talent in rural areas, and people in rural Utah, and connecting to your jobs all over the country. So I just look at like the need that Emory County has. They're not going to be able to get that. It's going to be kind of an overnight success in 25 years with their workforce, their young people. We started robotics clubs in Emory County in 2016, and they've just been continuing to grow, and that just takes time building that STEM talent pipeline. But if we can change the mindset, which we are changing, it is changing. That hey, I can live here, I can get my education here, I can go get my education somewhere else, I can come back and provide for my family here, and I have this really awesome tech job locally or abroad. I mean, the possibilities are endless, and we're just scratching the surface. All the success we've had is just scratching the surface so far. But I'm really grateful for the legislators, the commissioners who are on the pulse of the needs of the community, and they connect the dots. And we're just program planners at USU, and really good at evaluation and communicating the impacts. And so the ideas come. It didn't come from me. But looking at it, I had a lot of the remote work experience already. It was just like, how do we operationalize these ideas and then start communicating those impacts that we make? And so the legislature's been 100% behind us all the way, and then our administration at USU as well.
That was awesome. I think in the future, I'm on 10 years, Phil and I are 10 days apart, and you're still over there. I'm 67 years old.
Oh, you said you're
In
57.
10 years.
Okay.
What's the future of caregiving going to be like? Are we going to be able to have more virtual care to be able to create more companionship for those that are getting into their silver years and stuff like that? These are things to me that are fascinating because I've been a caregiver with my parents the last couple of years, and I'm thinking, how can I come up with something that helps them? And we're at the age where we all have lost or losing parents, and we have to do that. Is there something where you can see that some of your reentry moms and stuff like that would be able to be in like a therapeutic position with folks that are housebound and stuff like that?
Yeah, you look at people right now who are 67, and some of them are like really hip on technology, and then others are just way behind. But because of COVID and just the adoption of so many technologies that enable remote work and communication, we're looking at the future 67-year-olds like yourself are super tech savvy.
10 years.
Yeah, in 10 years. And you look at the number of patents. So one of the arguments for why remote work is going to stick, why it wasn't just a fad, is that the patents, the patent applications that for technology that enables remote work doubled in 2021, and it was just like whoa. And so because it's happening, we're innovating more, and we're hyper focused on the space. And so I look at telepresence, I look at VR, I look at AR, all these headsets. I mean, you're going to be able to just some people don't communicate so much with their loved ones that are older because it's like, well, you're limited to a smartphone. My grandma's 101, doesn't have a smartphone. I have to go visit her mostly. She'll talk on the phone, but with telepresence, I'm going to be able to beam in her room and be there with her. And then you look at robots and things like that, and like,
You need to talk to Dan Pack.
Dan?
Yeah, Dan's one of our innovation guys that's doing some great things for us going forward. I've admired the passion that you have. This is something you had a passion for the opportunity. You're a computer science professor, and went on to your PhD, and you saw a need to be able to help people in various marginalized communities, but particularly those that are in the small places that you have freeways of their.
Yeah.
You might talk to us again, and as we get closer, what would you think if we were able to offer ROI a classroom at the public place where people can come do calibrations in the JCW building?
Oh yeah, we've already got people in that area, and so I love the idea of remote work in person, like remote work training in person. We piloted that in some with incarcerated populations, and so I mean that's something that's just around the corner, so we're ready for it.
Knuckles all the way around. Thor Roundy, Cindy Mon, Paul Hill, and yours truly. Out. Okay, I'm going to shut this one down, and we'll get some other help. We'll go forward. Coming to you live from the Accelerant, Aspirability, and Oticon Suite at Silicon Summits 22.